about you, but it is hard for me to believe that we only have 2 weeks left until Christmas. I mean, it seems like just a few days ago, it was still summertime, and now all of a sudden, Christmas is right on top of us. 2 weeks left. One of the things I love about the Christmas season is the way that it kind of comes and creeps up on you slowly. Like as you're coming out of the heat and the kind of laid backness of the summer, and you start to see the signs that Christmas is coming. And I don't know what it is for you, because there are so many of them, and each one of us has a different way that something triggers something inside us that we know, hey, Christmas is right around the corner. Right, for some of us, we know that Christmas is right around the corner when we go into Costco, and right next to the Halloween costumes, you're already starting to see Christmas decorations. For some people, it's just the knowledge off the top of their head that on November 1st, Hallmark Movie Channel starts showing Christmas movies. For some people, Thanksgiving. Getting Thanksgiving and through Thanksgiving is the start of the Christmas season. It's when the Christmas music starts coming up on the radio. For others, though, we know that Christmas is coming when the leaves start to turn, when they start to fall, or maybe when the weather changes and it starts to get cooler, or when the time changes. We all have these signs that we look for that Christmas is on the way. And I think for many of us, every year we go into the Christmas season and we are hopeful about Christmas. Because we say, you know what, this Christmas we want to really experience joy at Christmas time. We tell ourselves, this year I want to do it right. I don't want it to be like last year, right? I don't want to have all of that pressure of having to buy gifts and spend so much money on gifts and so much of that done at the last minute. I want to lighten up our schedule so that we can really enjoy the season, so that we can spend more time with family, so that we can eat more, or maybe so we can eat less. But now here we are again. And Christmas is just 2 weeks away. And some of you haven't even started Christmas shopping yet. And so for many of us, the pressure has come once again. The busyness of the season is right there in front of us again, running around from one place to another, fighting the holiday traffic on the roads and the holiday traffic in the stores, figuring out how we're going to find the money to be able to buy gifts and pay bills all in the same month. Having to deal with those awkward moments and strange relationships. It's not strange, strained relationships at family gatherings. And sometimes it seems like the closer that we get to Christmas, the worse that these feelings get. And could it be that the reason that we feel this way is that we have bought into what the world says, what our culture says that Christmas is about, instead of what God tells us that Christmas is really about? In one of the pretty popular Christmas stories, it talks about an angel who met the shepherds in the field at night. And the angel says that he has come to tell them about the birth of Jesus. And the angel says, I bring you good news of great joy. Christmas was supposed to be a celebration of joyful good news. In fact, the Greek word for good news is the Greek word euangelion. It comes from a combination of two different Greek words, eu meaning good and angelion meaning messenger or message or angel. And so we get caught up in Christmas, especially as we get closer to Christmas, and there's supposed to be good news of great joy, and the message that's supposed to be coming to us is a message of good news and great joy, and we wonder why Christmas just doesn't fill us with great joy. And we're starting to feel the pressure of the coming Christmas. And when we think about what it's like right now and trying to plan out what the week is going to look like and all the things that we have to do, the last word that a lot of us would use to describe how we're feeling 2 weeks away from Christmas is joy. And if that's the case, then maybe we have forgotten about the good news that we celebrate Christmas for. There's a part of the Christmas story that, again, for a lot of you, it's very, very familiar. Even if you are not a Christian, you've seen or heard or sung songs about this particular part, the beginnings of the Christmas story. It was recorded by a man named Luke who wrote a book and decided that what he was going to do is he was going to make what he says is an orderly account of all of the things that happened in the life of Jesus. And so in the beginning of his book, he's talking about all of the events that led up to Jesus being born, because he wants to give an account of this. And so this is what Luke writes as he's talking about the part of the Christmas story where Jesus' mother, Mary, finds out that she is going to be having a baby. This is what Luke writes. He says, in the 6th month of Elizabeth's pregnancy, now Elizabeth was Mary's cousin, and she was also pregnant. It says, in the 6th month of Elizabeth's pregnancy, God sent the angel Gabriel to Nazareth, a village in Galilee, to a virgin named Mary. She was engaged to be married to a man named Joseph, a descendant of King David. So Gabriel is an angel, and he is being sent by God to deliver a message to Mary. Now remember that the Greek word for message is also the same Greek word for angel. It's angelion, which means the angel is a messenger. The angel is there, and a messenger has one job, right? You got one job. The messenger's job is to deliver a message. And Gabriel, as a messenger, he was there to deliver a message to Mary. Luke goes on and he says, Gabriel appeared to her and said, greetings, favored woman. The Lord is with you. Blessed are you among women. This is how Gabriel opens his message, telling Mary that she had 3 things from God that she did not know that she had. Gabriel says, you have God's favor. Gabriel says, you have God's presence. Gabriel says, you have God's blessing. All in the opening statement. She had God's favor, she had God's presence, and she had God's blessing. Now, that's like the opening part of this message. This was good news for Mary, but see, Mary was listening to this, and I don't know if it's because of the imposing figure of the angel that was in front of her, or just because what he was saying just could not register in her brain. Because Luke tells us that confused and disturbed, Mary tried to think what the angel could mean. Because it was good news for Mary, but it wasn't good news to Mary, at least not yet. And so Mary is listening to him, and she must have been thinking, who, me? I'm favored by God? Why? I mean, what did I do? This doesn't make any sense. Because Mary is a teenage girl living in the backwoods of the Roman Empire who knows that pretty soon she's about to be married. And here's an angel telling her that she's got good news. The angel says, don't be afraid, Mary. I don't know why, but for some reason, whenever an angel comes, people are scared. And so that's the first thing. I'm not the first thing, but that's what that Gabriel says to her. He says, don't be afraid, Mary, the angel told her, for you have found favor with God. In other words, what he's trying to say is, listen, relax, Mary. Slow down a little bit. I am a messenger, and I have a message from God for you, and it is going to be good news. And this is the news. You will conceive and give birth to a son. She was like, I don't know how she's thinking about this. You're going to conceive and give birth to a son. Okay, well, I'm about to be married, so that makes sense. I assume that at some time after I'm married, I'm going to conceive and give birth to a son. All right, I get it. But then the angel says, and you will name him Jesus. Now, this is significant. The first part, you're going to give birth to a son. That's what women do. I mean, it's a biological function of women. And when a woman gets married and the husband is involved and then they're going to have a baby, that is a common thing. It's how I got here. It's how you got here. But here's the thing. This is what makes this statement significant. In that culture, the father of the child was the one who got to name the child. And especially with a son, the father of a son was the one who gave the name to the son. It was one of the things that you would do as a father. And so by giving the child his name, what the angel was saying was, I need you to know that the father of this baby is the one who gave him his name. You are the mother, but the father of this baby is God. And what is inferred in all of that is because this was a baby, this was going to be Mary's baby, that God's presence would be with her in the form of her son. I would imagine Mary, she's still processing this when Gabriel comes up with his next statement. Listen to this. He says, he will be very great and will be called the Son of the Most High. Now think about this for a second. Who exactly is going to call him the Son of the Most High? How is this going to happen? I mean, is Gabriel saying, hey, Mary, listen, you're going to have this baby, and as you're raising the baby, what I want you to do is call him Jesus, the Son of the Most High. Just keep telling him that, right? This is like a pep talk, telling the kid from a very young age, this is who you are, this is what you're going to do. Is that what Gabriel's trying to say? Or is he trying to say, listen, Mary, as you're raising your child, when people come around him, you've got to tell them, this is my son, and he is going to be called the Son of the Most High, so I want you to start calling him the Son of the Most High. Is that what Gabriel was trying to tell her? I don't think so, because it doesn't make any sense. But you see, based on the way that this sentence was structured in the Greek language that it was written in, what Gabriel is saying is that your baby is going to be great. And when people see his greatness, when people see who he is, they are going to look at him and they're going to say, wow, that must be the Son of the Most High. They're going to look at his greatness and come to the conclusion. And when they come to that conclusion, then they are going to call him the Son of the Most High. Now you have to understand that what Gabriel was saying, what Mary was hearing, was treason. See, in that particular time period, during the Roman Empire, the Caesars, the emperors of Rome, were thought to be both human and divine. Both human and divine at the same time. In fact, Julius Caesar was given by the Roman Senate divine status. He was Divus Iulius, the divine Julius. In fact, one of the things one of the ways that they sent out this message, because today, we have Twitter and we have Instagram and we have Facebook and TikTok and all the other social media outlets that we have today. But back in that time, how they got their message out to people was that they put the message on coins, because coins went around and were circulated widely, and people would read what was on the coin. So this coin is referred to as the Caesar Divina, the divine Caesar. And on one side, you see a picture of Caesar Augustus, who was the second Caesar. After Julius Caesar was Caesar Augustus, who was the emperor, the Caesar of Rome at the time of Jesus' birth. And then on the back, you see it says Divina Iulius, the divine Julius. There was a poet and philosopher who was a friend, associate of Caesar Augustus. His name was Quintus Horatius Flaccus. And in some of his writings, he wrote that Caesar wipes away the sins of the people. There was a calendar, a tablet calendar that was found in the ruins of an ancient city called Priene. And this inscription on this calendar, which is dated back to about 9 BC, this is a picture of it. In that calendar is the inscription, the beginning of the gospel of Caesar Augustus. See, Augustus was the adopted son of Julius Caesar and took the throne after Julius Caesar. And they referred to him, Julius Caesar, as the Most High. And so Augustus Caesar Augustus, was the son of the Most High Caesar. Are you seeing what the message that the angel is bringing in here? The angel is bringing in a message that is countercultural to what the people at that time understood. he goes on and he says, the Lord God will give him the throne of his ancestor David, and he will reign over Israel forever. His kingdom will never end. Now see, these people who are living here, who are in this time, they know kingdoms, man, they come, but they go. And this is not something that they just read about in history. This is something that this people have lived through. The Babylonians, the kingdom came and went. The Assyrians, the kingdom came and went. The Greeks, even their own kingdom of Israel, came and went. And so they knew that as powerful as Rome was, and what you and I know now from history, is that even Rome would one day be gone. And the angel is saying, there is going to be a kingdom that will never end. See, here's the message behind the message that Gabriel was giving. The world has a way of doing things. The world has a way of seeing things. But Mary, I am bringing you good news of great joy that is opposite of what the world says and what the world sees. You are going to have a baby, and his name is Jesus. And he's greater than anything that the world has to offer. He is the Son of God, the good news of God and his kingdom. Unlike the rest of those that we know of, his kingdom will never end. Jesus would go on to live a life that when we look at, if we really look at the life of Jesus, everything from his birth to his life to his death, you just can't be honestly ambivalent about Jesus. You can't. When you look at what he said about himself, you can't just say, Jesus was okay. Jesus, yeah, I'm okay with Jesus. I ain't got no problem with Jesus. Most of the people who say Jesus was just okay say that because they don't really know Jesus. They think that Jesus was simply a good teacher who had some really good life principles that we're supposed to follow, and if we follow them, we'll have a good life. They think that Jesus came here to give us good advice on how we should live our lives. But you see, when Jesus came, he didn't come to give us good advice. He came to give us good news. See, there's a difference between advice and news. Advice tells you what you should do, but news tells you what has already been done. We're here in South San Francisco right now, and if we knew that there was an army that was about to come in and invade South San Francisco, because this is such prime property, this is a place that the army would want to be at. But let's say that there was a huge invading army, and it was coming into South San Francisco to take over. What we would want is advice, right? We would want to know, how do we defend ourselves? Where should we go? What strategy should we use to defeat the invaders? We would want advice. But if the 101st Airborne Division of the United States Army dropped in and intercepted the invading army and destroyed them, we wouldn't need advisors. We would need messengers. We would need someone to come to us and give us the good news of what has already been done. See, Jesus didn't come to give us good advice. Jesus came to bring us good news. Not just good news to the world, but good news to me and good news to you. I mean, think about this. What is good news to you today? What would be good news to you today? If someone told you something, if a messenger came in to give you a message, what would good news be for you today? What would be good news to you? What would be good news to your marriage? What would be good news to your children, to your family? What would be good news to your place of employment, the business that you own, to your classroom? What would be good news for you? Most of us, when we think of good news, we think of what would be the good news that most of the rest of the world and what our contemporary culture tells us is good news. Now, come on, how many of you, when you thought, if there was a messenger who was coming to me with good news, it was going to either be Super Lotto, anybody? I see you. Super Lotto, or Rich uncle died, left you an inheritance you didn't know about, right? For us, that is what good news is. Because we live in this world, and this is what the world values. Good news would be something like that. And listen, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that with the good news of Jesus, it doesn't just stop there. Jesus wants to give you and to give me so much more. You see, the good news of Christmas isn't limited to money and stuff. The good news of Christmas is that joy can be yours today, despite the money or the lack of it, despite the stuff or the lack of it, that you can have joy today. See, we don't want to confuse the joy of Christmas with the joy of the world. To the world, joy is everything. I have everything that I want. That is joy to the world. But to the followers of Jesus, joy is Jesus is the only thing I need. Because when I have Jesus, I have everything. I have everything else. That is the good news. Not that we hope something good will happen, not that we hope everything will turn out okay, but good news that brings us great joy. It's news. It's about something that has already happened. That we celebrate the coming of Jesus, but what we know is that happened 2,000 years ago. It's something that already happened. That's why it's good news. That Jesus came, He lived, He died, and He rose again. And because in His death He conquered sin, and because in His resurrection He conquered death, you and I have a reason to be joyful, a reason to have joy in our hearts despite what our circumstances are, despite the challenges that we're facing, despite the trouble that we think we might be in. We have a reason for joy. 2,000 years ago, they were waiting for Him to arrive. And yes, for those of us who are followers of Jesus, we know that we wait again for Him to return. But we are not called to sit on our hands and wait. We are called to go out and spread the good news of great joy, the good news of the Christmas season, that Jesus, the hope of the world, came into the world to bring His light into our darkness. That no matter what you've done in the past, no matter what you're doing right now, no matter what you might do in the future, you can invite Jesus into your world. And you can see what happens when Jesus is the one who directs your world. And if we will do that, then Christmas season or not, we can all experience the good news that will bring us great joy.
Thank you for joining us for this week's message. Gracepoint Church is located in South San Francisco, California. For additional content or to find out more information about Gracepoint Church, visit us online at wearegracepoint.com.